Hi everyone, I have decided today to do this little set of berries from the lovely Rita Berman page in her Lande book. So let's come in a little bit closer and then move this down. Now I thought that I would quite like to do these in a pink colour because we don't actually have any pink berries on this page yet. So I thought we could build up a few pink layers and see what we can come up with. So this will be a completely imaginary berry. Now on these I noticed we've got these little circles. Now these must be shine because of the position they're in, but I'm going to colour over them and then think about what to do with them at the end. So we're just going to start off with a flamingo pink and start layering up some colour on our berries. I get a little bit nervous with some sets of pencils, including these, when I'm thinking about putting white pen on top, which I will here on these, that it might bleed through and it might just go pink. It does happen with certain colours in certain sets of pencils, and I don't think I've worked out which ones of these it happens with, which means that I'm wary. So leaving that as a white gap might have been a better idea, but I don't think I would be able to do that. My colouring isn't that accurate. I would probably just colour over them all anyway. So I decided it wasn't worth the hassle to try and do it that way. So there is our base pink colour. It's not necessarily very even. It's fine. I'm not going to get too worried about it. And then I'm going to move on to the fuchsia. I need to sharpen it actually. Now I want to do a similar thing to the other berries and make it darker around the edge. And what that achieves is that a few things actually. Firstly, it gives us some areas that look like they're a bit shadowed. So here where it's overlapping, it would be darker there because that would be creating a shadow, but also it helps to give them shape. So by leaving a lighter piece here, this looks like it's closer to us and helps them to look more rounded. So we can achieve two things with quite a simple thing. So basically I'm layering up along the edge and then just not in the middle. And then we'll do the same here. So as I go around the edge, you notice I'm going back and forth. I'm colouring over and over so that I get a good few layers of this colour. But as I come into the next bit, I'm not doing quite so much, so that it gets less and less pencil and less layers, and therefore less intense and less dark. And I'm not going right to the middle, so we can only see the lighter pink in the centre. And you can do this with just one colour if you want to. You don't have to layer up several like I am. You could just grab your darkest colour and straight away layer lots around the outside and then less towards the centre. I just like the, I find it a little easier with more than one colour, and it's quite fun as well. There we go. And so I've got a final colour which I'm going to grab and sharpen. It's quite a bright pink. I can't imagine berries ever being this colour, but anyway, this is a plum purple. Now I can't decide whether a berry this colour would be saying stay away, I'm poisonous, or whether it would be saying I'm delicious, come and eat me. I don't know, because I think the red holly berries, well, it's interesting because some berries birds can eat but people can't. They're poisonous for people but not for birds, so it's quite interesting. So I don't know. I find it fascinating that different animals are poisoned by different things. It's like, why did, I guess certain species evolved to, I'm just going to grab a brush, it's very bitty. There we go. I'm just going to go back to my lightest colour, which is the flamingo pink, and just add a little more near the centre. Some of them are a little bit too white. my liking. Yeah, I guess some animals have evolved to eat certain things and others haven't. Some of them must have been able to, and it helped them to survive somehow. It's quite interesting. Now when you use quite a pale colour like this, you don't want to overwhelm it by really, really dark leaves, I don't think. So I'm going to have a look at what I've got that isn't going to be too dark. I also like a bluey green colour leaf with a pink or purple type flower. I am going to grab the shamrock green, which is quite a bluey green. I think it'll work, and I'm just going to pop a light layer down and then have a look and see whether I think it needs darkening or not. So it just gives me somewhere to start, really. I'm trying to show you the name, but it doesn't want to catch the light. There we go, shamrock green. So there are lots and lots of different ways to colour leaves. It is, a lot of books have leaves, and it can be, I just realised I haven't got a piece of paper behind this page. That I think will be okay. And it can get boring if you always colour them in exactly the same way. If you want to try and make them look realistic, that can be quite hard work. Because if you look at a tree, no leaf is identical. But I usually do one of 2, 3 things maybe. So let's take this leaf. I might do around the edge darker and the centre lighter. I might do each end dark and a lighter bit there. Or I might just do one end dark and fade it to the tip, or reverse. So those are the different things that I do. But then also you've got colour. You can choose all sorts of different colours. Now don't feel you've always got to stick to green. Obviously autumnal leaves are brown, orange, that sort of thing. Some leaves are reddish, some are even yellow. And then you can also just go into your imagination and not have to, you know, go pink, go purple, go, you know, but there are pink and purple leaves anyway. Okay, so there's our basic colour. I'm quite liking that mix of colour. I'm thinking I don't want to add another colour to that, but I do want to darken some areas. I think what I'm going to do with this one is just make this leaf darker at the bottom and then fade it up a bit. That's it. And then the same with this one. Keeping an eye on the time. I have to go and check my computer because my children have got sort of study time at college today. Sometimes they message me and ask me to photograph things or send them things or whatever. Right, now I want a sharper pencil for what I'm doing next. It may not show up, that hasn't showed up massively, but we'll see. It's quite sharp. What I want to do is make the edge of this a little darker. Shows up for me. And then the same here, so the edge, just make a darker area on the edge, and then where it's a bit thicker here you can fade it in a little bit. That's it, and here as well. You can't really do much with the stem, they're very narrow. I might just darken it a little, like that. Okay, now we're going to use our white. Now we've got our Posca again. What I'm going to do is follow what Rita has marked. So she's marked a circle there and a line, and I'm going to do that on each one. Follow her markings. She knows what she's doing. There we So we've got a little bit of white on each one. So, and it doesn't look like it is changing colour. It tends to be the pinks that bleed through. But what I tend to do, quick tip before we go, when I do a swatch sheet for a set of pencils, which I don't always do, I have to say, I use my white pen in the corner. You might have a circle or a square that you're swatching, do a little tiny dot and you'll find out whether it's bleed proof or not. Well, no, you'll find out whether it bleeds into the white or not. And then if you want to be sure that your white isn't going to, if you know you're going to use white and you want to avoid that, then just avoid using those colours or use some bleed proof white on it. But that is that one done. We've only been 10 minutes. I'm thinking maybe let's do another one as well. Should we do another one? Should we do this one? I think that would be fun. So I'm looking at all the colours actually. Let's bring you into shot a little bit. Now these at the bottom, I can't identify what they are. So like I couldn't with this one. So I'm thinking, what sort of colour shall we do? I'm thinking maybe a brownish one for down here. Should we do that? Let's come in a bit closer. Yeah, let's do this one. So where am I going to start? I know. Yeah, I'm thinking this might be a nice starting colour for a brownish berry, a sienna brown. Now I'm going to use a couple of layers of this. So I'm going to go over first in a fairly light layer, quite vibrant, so you get quite a good coverage. My stomach's growling. It's 11:10. It's not lunchtime yet. Now I'm also going to do a harder layer on the edge. Remember I said you could just use one colour and go and demonstrate how to do that. So really darken up here and then lighten up towards the middle. Just keep layering it like that. There we go. Now you could use a second brown, a much darker brown, like an umber, like a burnt umber or something, to get an even darker layer. I may do that in a minute, but I'm trying to make it so that you could just leave it with the one colour and it would look acceptable. Just so you can see how to do it. So you see I'm scumbling it round. Oops, going out of the lines. That's not essential. Around the edge. There we go. Now I am going to grab a darker brown. What have we got? Whoops. We've got a cocoa brown, which I'm going to grab. There's no sort of, it's like the equivalent of a burnt umber really. Oh, it's just broken. That was good. Okay, let's try it again. There we go. I think it's going to break again. Yeah, we won't use that one. We use a different one. I need to sharpen that in a different sharpener, I guess. This is the dark chocolate brown. And what you could do is I'm actually going to do these bits in this. But you could also do a little bit at the bottom of each berry as well, if you want to. And this one particularly here, where there would be some shadow, I'm going to put a bit on there. You can put more or less of that depending on how dark you want your berries to be. Now with the green, I quite like the idea of doing maybe sort of mossy olivey type green. So I'm going to grab my pear green, it's getting a little small, and do a layer of that. I think it's quite pale, isn't it? But I'm going to go over it with other green. So we'll sort of darken it up in a bit. Just going to cover it all with this first. Yeah, it's quite light. I think it looks lighter because our berries are quite dark, but that's okay. So I'm trying to get a reasonably even layer, but you know me, don't get too worried about it. We can always tidy it up if it needs to be after. And this last one. Don't forget that little bit down there. Now I'm going to grab the moss green. Needs sharpening. There we go. So moss green. And where should we start? We'll start on the stem. I'm going to try and make it darker on the edge. It's quite narrow, so it's going to be a little bit tricky. There we go. Now these are too narrow. I'm just going to darken them over. They're a little bit too pale, I'm thinking. Yeah. Now what we can do with these leaves, I'm thinking go either side to start with, and I might leave that light central bit, vein or whatever it is, but I need to see if it was going to work. Yeah, I think it's okay. I'll do it with all of them and then I'll make a final decision. The good thing with colouring is you don't always have to make all those decisions right away. I have coloured a whole page before and left one little bit that I had no idea what to do with right until the end. Still didn't know what to do with it, but I had to make a decision then. But it sort of forces you in the end to do something. But I do sometimes look on things like Pinterest for a bit of inspiration. Look up that book or that illustrator and see if you can find anyone else's version of that picture, because often it's an item and I don't quite know what it is, and then that means that I just have no idea how to colour it. So if you look up how someone else has coloured it, it might give you an idea of what it is. I could try and leave that bit a bit lighter where it would be catching the light, and put this bit under here a bit darker into the shadow. The same here, I want this bit quite dark, but I've got a bit of a stem bit in there which I want to be a bit lighter. There we go. And under there, I think it might be a bit of shadow under that. I think that's okay. I just want to add a bit of white, I think, to the berries to give them a little bit of shine. Now I've got no shine, oh we do have some black marks on here, and I think I'm going to use those for to wear as an indication as to where to put my shine. Now sometimes when you're using a white pen you might want to go back over what you've done. It doesn't always show up as brightly as you might wish, So just another little tip. The only thing is make sure it's fully dry, which if you go back over it, you will take off what you've put down, and that doesn't really achieve anything. Also, be careful when you go back, because you can scratch off the paint that's there already. So you might want to practice on some rough paper or on a picture that you're not so keen on to start with, just to make sure that it's going to work for you. But there we go, we are done now. We've got 2 left. They may go in 1 video, they may go in 2, depends how long they take, and I've got to decide what colour to do them first. But anyway, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Have a really lovely day and happy colouring.